want to take a moment and talk about something that's very important to God, and that's the Sabbath. Because we today have really twisted what the Sabbath actually is. There's a lot of things I'm going to say in this video that are going to offend many of you, and that's okay. The Word of God is often offensive to many people. But it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. The Word of God is the Word of God, and the truth will always reign. And when it comes to the Ten Commandments, God only had 10. I mean, there weren't a whole bunch of them. There were for the Israelites, but when it comes to the general human species, here's your 10. And those 10 include honoring the Sabbath. But yet, we go to church every Sunday. We do this Sunday worship. And what led to the Sunday worship is wickedness. And that's what we have to really kind of look back at. Well, what is this? Like, what is this thing we're doing? Because since I've been born, this is what we've done. Because it goes all the way back to the 1300s when the Pope declared that Sunday would be the Sabbath, the day of worship. And then it was declared that the Pope was above the Word of God, and that is where the wickedness enters in. It's one thing for a man to be an idiot and say falsities about the Word of God. It's quite another to use that authority to kind of declare yourself above the Word of God and then twist the one thing that is of 10. There's only 10, don't murder people and honor the Sabbath. It's a big deal. And the fact that we're doing it today only gets worse when the U.S. Congress in 1893 declared that we would uphold the Sabbath worship on Sunday. And this is where wickedness enters into our country. And we've only seen the decay of the U.S. since then. It's something that we have to kind of open our eyes to and really say, well, what's actually happening here? Because when the sun sets on Friday night and then it sets again on Saturday, that time between those two sunsets is incredibly important to God. It's incredibly important to Him. All of creation is a reflection of who God is, and He rested on the seventh day. All of creation, and when we look at, the week, and a lot of people can argue, well, it's just a calendar. It didn't say God rested on Saturday, but Saturday was the Sabbath. It was the holy Sabbath, and it always has been until really the Pope changed it because, he's above the Bible and all. And then Congress just goes along with it in the 1890s. And then we've just been doing that ever since because some people in authority told us hundreds and hundreds of years ago that this is what we should be doing. But yet, from the very beginning, when the first thing that God did after His creation was done was He honored this day of rest, keeping it holy. And it is who He is. It's who He is, and creation is who He is. It's all a reflection of who God is. And honoring the Sabbath, I think, is important. I guess I'm making this video to all you pastors to really think about that one for a little bit. When you get up on Sunday morning and you invite everybody to your church, like, what is that? Like, what is that you're doing there? Because there is a wickedness of Sunday worship. That goes way beyond anything that's happened in our lifetime. It's the things that we do that we say are okay to God that are actually not okay to God have been deeply embedded through satanic means into our culture from hundreds of years ago. Deeply embedded satanic things that suddenly now we get to this day and we're like, well, it's okay. We could just do this thing because, those people back then said it was okay. But if you look at the Word of God, it says what it says. And this is one thing that I am certain of God, because when He kicked out Israel from Israel, He gave them a timeline of when they would come back in 1948. And that timeline from when the Romans completely destroyed Jerusalem to when they finally came back was a direct reflection on their inability to rest the land on the seventh year. God was like, well, if you're not going to rest it, I'm going to rest it for you. There was other things that they did, which made it even worse. And, because he had a timeline that was specific numbers, according to Ezekiel, that were based on the years of rest that they never gave the land. But then he did it times 7 because of their wickedness and their idolatry and all that. So it was a lot worse. But there was the offense. God's like, if you're not going to rest land, I'm going to rest it for you. Get out. I'm going to rest this land. And I truly believe that as we as humans don't rest, he's going to rest us somehow. He's going to get those days if you declare him to be your father. And I think it's extremely important we just kind of open our eyes to the wickedness of Sunday worship for what it is. It's something that we kind of need to at least begin to question what that Pope in the 1300s was thinking and what our 1893 Congress was thinking. And then kind of think, well, was that a wise choice or was it a wicked choice? And now we're just doing it and we're assuming it's okay because everybody says it's okay. And again, I know many people are going to be offended by this video. And they're going to say, oh, no, I'm never going to change. It's okay to worship on Sunday. Why don't you just pray about that and see what your father says. Don't take my word for it. Just pray about it, be quiet, listen to what he has to say about it. There's only 10 commandments. That's not many. It's a pretty short list, and this is one of them. And I think it's important we open our eyes to why is it we do this? Like, why do we actually worship on Sunday? I do want to take a moment in this video and say, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment, hit that subscribe button. It greatly increases the algorithm, our ability to get these messages out. That link is below.